Hello and welcome to Miller Realty Group's Talk of the Town, Carolinas. I'm your host, Patti Mercer. Hey, by now you've probably gotten that letter about property assessment. What does it mean? This edition of Talk of the Town, Carolinas, we're going to find out. And if you're thinking about buying or selling your home, simply call Carmen, or you can visit CarolinaHomesearch.com and see lots of beautiful properties. Well, we are here today at the York County Government Center getting ready to talk to the County Assessor. Come on, let's check it out. Well, here we are in York County, right at the government building. This is really, really nice. And Rick, you do what for York County?
I am actually the York County Assessor. And the office here is responsible for valuing all the real estate in York County.
I think you sent out, close to 119,000 letters about property reassessments.
Correct.
We want to know, this information is here, what do we do with it, and why did we get it?
Right.
So how often are you responsible for doing a reassessment in York County?
Well, it's state code that requires every county in South Carolina to reassess their county property every 5 years. Our last one here in York County was in 2015, so this one is our 5th year to send out for 2020.
Property over the course of 5 years, it can increase, it can decrease, it can stay the same. What comes next? This isn't a bill that we are receiving.
No, and that's a good point to make. The assessment notices that we send out are not any kind of a bill at all. It's solely, as required by the code, a notice of the new classification, ownership, and value of the property. And it also will state on there the taxing district of where that property is located.
Even though we're not receiving a bill right now from you,
right,
that information will be used in the equation of our taxes.
Correct. That information is then what we call a certified roll is generated, certified assessment roll, and it is given to the county auditor. The county auditor's responsibility is then to take the different taxing district millages and calculate the actual tax for each property.
And when would we expect to see that bill? Would that be later in the year?
No, that's coming out according to the auditor. Their goal is to have all the tax bills mailed out by the mid of October to the end of October, in that range there.
Of 2020.
Of
2020.
Right.
Gotcha. What if we disagree with the assessment?
I look at the actual appeal process in 4 different steps and there's 3 that are handled locally here. We have an initial objection that they can file with the office that basically tells why they believe, or they just want to object to the value. The appraiser who is responsible for that particular area will review that and see if there's any cause or need to make a change. They'll also call them to have like a conference, and that can be done by over the phone, or we can talk to them, together here in the office, whatever they prefer. And then, of course, the third level is if either one of those two either one of those 2 earlier steps, there's no agreement, then they can go to the third level, which is before the York County Appeals Board. And then once that's completed, then of course they can go on to more of a court setting, which is in Columbia.
What about a time limit? I mean, has everyone in York County at this point, should they have received this letter?
Yes, I would recommend that if they could wait 2 weeks. We mailed these out on September the 15th. And I would probably say if they haven't gotten something by, say, the end of this week, October 2nd, 1st of next week, if they hadn't gotten it, to give us a call. And we can get them a copy of what was actually mailed out. We mailed all those out. They have 90 days to object, so there's still plenty of time for them to sit down and look at their values, even call, ask some questions, and plenty of time to decide on whether they want to file an objection and go further with it.
And why is it so important to do this every 5 years?
Reassessment is a program that it was created to equalize the values and tax burden throughout the whole county on all the properties.
If there's a big difference in that number from what it was 5 years ago, are there any caps in place that would protect someone from just really, maybe not being able to afford their home anymore?
Yes, back in 2006, there was a Legislative Act 388 that came into being. And that created a taxable value situation where market value, of course, would fluctuate with market, but what every property owner is taxed upon is their limited taxable value. And what that does is between each reassessment, that taxable value will only increase by a maximum of 15%. So there's properties out there where the market value, again, is at market, but they're being taxed on a lower value, which is a limited taxable value.
And if they ever sold that property, would that change?
Yes. Whenever that property is sold under that act, there is a term that was that is called an assessable transfer of interest. That assessable transfer of interest has to meet certain criteria to be categorized as that. We're required to revalue that property at its current market at that particular point in time. So that can change, and then if there is any cap, it goes away and it's reset at what we value it at. So it's a constant revaluation depending on the sales or what's going on in the county.
Any additional advice or places we can go to continue learning for ourselves before we give you a call?
Yes, in fact, I'm glad you brought that up. York County website is available to everyone. If you go to the York County website, go to the Assessor office page. On there we have a link to a special guide that talks about reassessment, that tells all about the ins and outs of it. Also too, there is a link to our property data website that they can search sales, they can search property. It's a very good and interactive type website where they can go on the map and click on the actual parcels that they see, find ownership, find valuations, find all about the property that's out there.
Well, that's it for this edition of Miller Realty Group's Talk of the Town, Carolinas. If you're thinking of buying or selling your home, make it simple. Just call Carmen or visit carolinahomesearch.com. And when it comes to understanding those property assessments, visit yorkcountygov.com. Until next time, I'm Patti Mercer. Bye-bye.